Brilliant. Welcome to the Football Show, sponsored by Indigo Communications here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Delighted you could join us. If you do get the chance, hit the subscribe button and join the football family. We'd love to have you with us Monday to Friday at 4 o'clock, and there's lots more on offer on PLZ Soccer's website, and if you download the app, you'll get all the breaking football stories at your fingertips. It's absolutely free to watch PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and if you love your football, then we're here to talk about it with you, and over and above that, you can engage with fellow fans as well, as long as you keep it decent. We'll hear from the managers involved in big nights coming up over the next couple of days for Scottish clubs. We'll also be discussing Dundee United against Hibs. Scotland's women have a huge game against the Republic of Ireland, and we'll be discussing VAR. The Chief Executive, Ian Maxwell of the SFA, is just calling for a little bit of patience among the supporters. He reckons there will be, over the next 2 or 3 months, a little bit of teething problems regarding VAR, and of course Hugh and I have agreed on this. We're such a tolerant and patient nation, we'll give people the slack they need just to accept some of these dodgy decisions. Anyway, I'm delighted Hugh MacDonald is back from his travels in the USA, and Ruffy is here as ever with me, and it's so nice to see Ruffy in one of the PLZ tops rather than the 38 different variations of a golf top that he was wearing. So great to have you. And of course, Ruffy, there's no point in talking to you about it, but Hugh's away in America in the mid-season, you've gone away on holiday in the mid-season. I mean, it's just, you've been with us 10 years and the two of you are showing a complete lack of professionalism.
Yeah, well, when you get to our age, you know, Peter, you've got to relax in life, you know, because you never know when it's going to end. Every day's a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks to so many of you for joining us as ever on the programme from near and far. And Hugh says, afternoon Peter and Ruffy, good to see Hugh back on the show. So lots of people, hi to Tommy, who's regularly there in his place in Thailand to join the show and offer his opinion too. So we're ready to rock and roll on this European football. Celtic, first of all, some other news that I'm going to just read out to you guys regarding our clubs in European football. Celtic have been fined 13,000 by UEFA, Ruffy, after the offensive banners, of course anti-monarchy banners. We knew they were going to pick it up after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. As soon as UEFA spotted that, they've said it wasn't fit for a sports event, and they were also picking up a £3,000 fine for pyrotechnics used before that match with Real Madrid. I mean, it's almost as if it's a given now, every game they're going to get a fine.
Yeah, it's disappointing as well, you know, but disappointing for the supporters of the club who go there and don't cause any trouble, but their club continues to get fined. And I know the fines aren't unbelievable fines, but these fines mount up, you know, and if we could get to the stage, if it continues in Europe, God knows what might happen, you know, sections of the ground getting shut and all that carry on. So I know the clubs are actively telling these fans to behave themselves impeccably, but the message has got to get through eventually, because they're just costing the club money.
Well, you know, nice words from you, but I don't think it matters a blind bit of difference to the people who make the banners, and I think basically it'll never change. I think we are just in a constant cycle of people using football as a platform to air their views, not necessarily for the majority, but for that section of people who think they are on a campaign, you know, some kind of mission to try and put a point across that. Does it achieve anything in life? I'm not so sure.
I agree with you. I think it's just a cycle now. You know, I was thinking the other day there, you know, where would the circumstances be that a minute's silence would be impeccably observed? You know, you might get it.
The Indonesian disaster, I think.
You'll probably get it for that, and for if there's any period of silence tonight at Celtic Park for that terrible tragedy in Ireland, you'll get it there. But by and large, you're just going in a cycle of silence / applause, protest, protest over the protest, and then coming round. the thing about the other sort of issue of, you know, pyro and banners at games, that'll continue until, you know, up until, you know, the UEFA say, well, we're closing not only sections of the stadium, but we're closing the stadium to fans, and that's DEFCON 3. I mean, that'll take a lot. That's a long time away, but that's when it'll continue to. The idea that, you know, the ultras of or fans of any club is going to bother about 13,000 or anything like that. It's not, and it's just something that we're condemned to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too, Hugh. Celtic have been fined. Rangers and Hearts have been fined. Rangers fined almost 13,000 by UEFA after receiving 6 bookings. 2 for defender James Sand, as he was sent off obviously after 55 minutes in that match against Napoli. Hearts were fined just over 2,000 after fans threw objects onto the pitch in that Conference League match against Istanbul Başakşehir. So again, if you don't want to behave yourself, it's just regular fines that are handed out.
Yeah, I mean, and I know the figures aren't drastic, you know, but that's still coming out of your pocket. They're still, I mean, I'm sure the clubs could find more to do with just handing over £13,000 to UEFA. You know, there's stuff in the club. It could be the employment of somebody.
Hand over the charity foundations.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you could be doing so much good with that money rather than just throwing it out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's us get over some of what I call the little pinpricks in society that you have to deal with and have to offer an opinion on. VAR, Ian Maxwell has admitted that Scottish football could be in for a horrendous few months as the game looks set to get to grips with this VAR. But he's hoping clubs and fans can keep their cool and have a little bit of patience, because he believes that the officials will eventually get it right. But the system itself is very, very close to coming into the game, probably in the next couple of weeks, definitely before the World Cup starts. We will have it in there. I thought it was really interesting that Ian Maxwell says the test process, the big problems could be connectivity and software, not necessarily the match officials. So I'll tell you one thing, Ruffy, if you start to get to 2, 3 and 4 minutes of waiting on a decision,
imagine sitting with a circle going around waiting for a appellate decision of Celtic v Rangers.
Well, can I tell you something?
Oh God!
The Celtic Stadium and Ibrox, at the best of times, has got woeful Wi-Fi. Hampden equally the same.
The worst place in the world to make a phone call is the BT Media Lounge at Hampden. You know, I mean, it's obvious why as well, because the demand in Wi-Fi. If you've got 60,000 people sending pictures across the world, I mean, don't even get me started. Well, you have to get me started on VAR, but oh my goodness, I think the challenges ahead for it are huge.
I know you're not a fan. You've said it time and time again on the programme. It's coming. We have to get on with it. We've been there before with things that have been implemented that some of us don't like. So we have to get on with it. We have to hope that it's not a big match where there's a real bit of contention, Ruffy. I mean, the other great thing is we joke about it, but no patience, no tolerance. There isn't, you know, there'll be a full-scale riot, you know, on social media with some of the decisions that'll be made.
Yeah, and we saw it down in England when it was there. You know, everybody was going crazy about a fingernail over the line or a heel or whatever. You know, and you would like to think we would learn from their mistakes, but obviously it's got to be tried out. Let's just hope it's not tried out at a Rangers Celtic game.
Yeah.
Let's hope that
well, it will be.
Yeah, no, but let's hope they have a lot of games of trying it out before they get to that one.
Well, it's January the 2nd, so it will be implemented in this one. The other thing about it, Hugh, as well, is, you know, as well as our hope that VAR is, it doesn't cure all the problems. What it does is it gives you a greater percentage of getting things right. The only problem I have with the whole thing is, again, when the decision is made not to go to VAR, that's the real nightmare coming up on the horizon, because that's something that irritates people down south at the moment. I can't believe they haven't had a look at that.
Yep. I mean, it's inherently flawed, because it's inherently flawed in so many ways. I mean, I'm not going to go over the arguments against VAR, because, as you say, we've got it, so there's no point in me bringing up what I don't agree with it. But in operation, it's inherently flawed as well. The idea as well is like, a bedding in period for it, where everybody will be a bit calm about it, and, it's just absurd, because if you look, even in America, where I could catch up with football managers, if you look at a routine, what would seem a routine Rangers home win against St Mirren, right, where they win 4-0. There's a massive protest about a penalty in that. Now, this is the level, everybody's talking about, it'll be really high in big games. If you took Rangers 4, St Mirren 0, in the Richter scale of big matches, I would suggest that'd be a 1 or 2, right? But the protest about it is a 7 or 8. There's incidents on Saturday in every game in Scotland where fans will be critical of.
Yeah.
Who's playing? I think it's interesting that Maxwell already is signalling possible kind of connectivity problems as well.
Yeah.
That's a red flag that you could plank on top of the Reichstag. That's how big a red flag that is.
As soon as he said it, I thought to myself, whoa, wait a minute. I looked at it and I thought to myself, connectivity.
So, you're going to have a situation where you go to VAR,
there.
Yeah. And of course there is the other element as well, which is a stonewall certainty to be coming, and that's quite simply when they eventually go to VAR and a decision is made. Even then, if it's still contested, you will have in our very small-minded country with tribalism at the forefront, Ruffy, some people making accusations that the people in the van are former Celtic or Rangers fans anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we know that's going to happen, so that's not going to hit us with a surprise.
Yeah.
I just hope that we concentrate on the big decisions, the ones that we want VAR to be used in, and not a lot of the trivial ones. But I do believe they've been testing it out. I don't know where they've been testing it, but certainly you would be hoping that any flaws there is, they'll be trying to iron them out as good as possible.
The certainty is, here's a certainty, I don't bet. Certainty is that there's going to be a huge error in this. There's going to be a huge controversy.
Can I give you the best one, the best scenario that's coming for it? And Gallant has just mentioned it on our feed here. He thought there should have been a penalty for Liverpool against Arsenal for the handball.
Yep.
Now, from there, with his hands up and directs the ball away, but it was very, very close when the ball was hit to it, that's where it's going to come in. Because there's always going to be human interpretation, Hugh.
Exactly.
And that's where the flaw is.
With VAR, I think, see the thing that's worked perfectly at top level is the watch and the ball going over the line. The referee's watch says that ball's over the line. That's worked perfectly. Why? It's a matter of fact. The whole ball is covered the line. You can't argue about it. You can say, that was really close. Same with offside, you can see a toenail, you can see a finger, you can see a head. It's over a line. That's a matter of fact. You can't argue. A ball out of play, a matter of fact. Once you start getting the penalties, fouls, red cards, these are matters of subjectivity at times. And I think the room for chaos, and if you factor in connectivity as well, referees trying it out for the first time, being in the van for the first time, they're human beings on the park for the first time in a big atmosphere. There's going to be huge controversy about it. It's just a fact.
Yeah, there's a good maybe, easily, I think we're highlighting some of the problems. There's a good maybe 50 or 60 problems that will undoubtedly be aired across the period when it's implemented. And of course, the other one, the last one, which is probably the 1000th one, is hopefully nobody finds the van. In this country, Ruffy, the search for the VAR van.
The van will have to be, some like MacDonald and Martin plasterers or something like that on the side of it.
Or I kid you not, this is the God's honest truth. When the van used to come round with the detector for the licence, the phone calls, it's in the area, turn your telly off. So
the thing as well about it is people are saying, give it time and it'll work its way out. Time won't work its way out because England's, you're still getting controversy in all the big leagues about it. I think there's controversy in the Bundesliga on Saturday.
To be honest with you, Ruffy, I'm for it.
Peter's made a good point. It now means that the TV detector vans are under pressure.
Exactly. Do you remember them, Ruff? I'm glad that brought a smile to your face. But listen, I think, I know you're not for it, I think it's a good situation because, it's a greater percentage of things that hopefully will be rectified, Ruffy.
Yeah, I know.
Especially with some decisions. The only ones that I think, I can't wait to see in some occasions was the guy who goes through, I can't remember, it was a few weeks ago when he went through an Ibrox and he's one-on-one, and I think Sands brought him down. They would have to have a look at that. There was one at the weekend as well. There was another absolute belter at the weekend, and it'll come back to me, Hugh. But they will have to have a look at these and then, assess it all. And
see, when they look at it, I mean, the rules. No,
there's the other one, Ryan Porteous.
Which one would?
Up at Aberdeen with Jim Goodwin calling him a cheat. That would just automatically be looked at and thought, here's the call.
Yeah, but when they look at it, I mean, and I know the mechanism, when they look at the van boy tells the referee, I'm going to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Is it the van boy that makes the decision or the referee?
No, the referee's got the chance to say, I'm going to go and have a look at it. So he goes and has a look at it, he listens to what they've got to say, and then he assesses it as a referee, and he makes the call.
The referee still is the final decision.
Yeah, unless it's a matter of fact, they'll say to him that ball was out of play, or that was an offside. They'll just inform him that's offside.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to look at an offside again, because it just is.
He could stand by his initial decision, Ruffy. So
it could, but usually 99.9% if they're called to the screen, they know they've made a boo-boo, and they don't want to. I mean, these referees get marked as well, so they don't want to exacerbate the boo-boo by, But I wonder about things. Here's one, and I'll just throw it out there. See, Willie Collum was called to the VAR van for sending off Lundstrom.
Yeah.
Given a straight red for what was subsequently rescinded to a yellow. Who out there, and I'm just throwing it over, thinks that Willie Collum would have went over to the VAR thing and put it down to a yellow?
You don't think he would do that?
I'm putting it out there.
I
certainly would.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen where a referee red carded a player and then eventually had a look.
I've seen them do it.
And then come back to a yellow. So why do you not think Willie Collum would do it?
I think in that instance...
Because he's too pig-headed?
No, I think in that instance he was so strong in his initial decision. I don't see... I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I see the fact that he was so strong and so decisive. He had his red card out right away, and that's a subjectivity thing, Peter.
Yeah, but I actually think when it gets to a situation where you're in a big situation of a call for a penalty, a situation where you've red carded somebody, I think once the word comes in the ear, Willie Collum will go and look at it.
Oh, he has to go and look at it, but does he change his decision? I don't know.
I think well, listen, if he looks at it and suddenly the evidence is contradicting what he's decided, I think he does. There's a good point here, and I think John, who regularly contributes, says, never mind the TV licence man, it was the electric and the gas man we used to keep an eye out for and let people know when they're on the street. That's another thing about it. But listen, lots of people obviously offering their tuppence worth on it. You're either for it, against it, you have to be convinced. We'll have to wait and see how it all goes, but listen, I've seen a real bit of pain, consternation, still criticism coming the way of referees and match officials down south with this whole situation. And here in Scotland, we have our own unusual way of dealing with things. I think there's going to be chaos, and I think Ian Maxwell at this moment is just...
Ian Maxwell thinks there's going to be...
Well, he does, and I think he's added that little connectivity one in there, but I think what's happening is trying to defuse the bombs before they go off.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now from that to European football and some belter games tonight, as well as Scotland women, as well as Dundee United against Hibs. Just so much to look forward to. Celtic against RB Leipzig. it's a big call on the type of player that he plays. I'm listening to the press conference and what Ange Postecoglou was talking about. He's lost Callum McGregor. He might look to the experience of James Forrest in there to throw in, if not from the start, certainly to make a contribution in this one. It's a big night for them. It's win or bust.
I think, we'll certainly got to get something out of it. I think...
Not 3 points.
No, I 3 points for second.
I don't think they'll get second.
No, but you're saying 3 points.
If they win the two games and Real Madrid defeat both teams, Celtic finish second.
I think that's
7 points.
I think that's a big call, though. I think to finish second.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm giving you the facts of what happens.
Yeah, but
you can't see it happening.
I don't see it happening.
Which part can you not see happening? Celtic winning the 2 games, or Real Madrid just deciding we'll switch off and?
I think Real Madrid will win. I can't see Celtic win the 2 games.
Right.
I think the only problem with Real Madrid is they play their strongest team. That sounds strange because they might take it a bit easier, but if Real Madrid are up for it, I think they're a class above anybody in the group and should win all their games. I think Celtic tonight is a crucial one. I think that's going to be a difficult one, Peter. If you're talking about winning 2 games, it sounds pretty straightforward, but I think tonight is going to be, I think a point tonight would be, a decent result for Celtic.
Is this on the evidence of what you witnessed last week in Germany?
Yeah, and I think and it's also on the evidence of what Celtic do in Europe. I think they've had 1 clean sheet in 23, so that suggests to win tonight they've got to score 2 goals, at least, to win, maybe more. There's also evidence that Celtic are not firing completely at the moment. I think Ange Postecoglou has referred to that. There's also Callum McGregor being out. I think he's Celtic's best player. I think he's crucial to the team. Jota not being fully fit is another blow because I think creatively he adds so much to the team. So I think I would take Real Madrid out of the equation at the moment. I think it's a big call for Celtic to win 2 matches.
Yeah, and of course we now know, obviously Leipzig drew with Mainz at the weekend, but they've got players now in that front line that provided us with strong enough evidence, Ruffy, that they can cause havoc. Nkunku looked a real player. Werner, not so sure, at times. He'll end up scoring 3 tonight, but Werner at times for me he didn't have that same threat when he was at Chelsea, and I've yet to see him ignite his return. There's some people enamoured with him, but not me at the moment.
Well, Chelsea must have saw something in them to pay the money in the first place, so he must have something in his locker, and obviously Celtic will be hoping it's not tonight. I just think in European football, Celtic have been sloppy defensively. They've lost some silly goals. You might get away with it in the Premiership here, but once you go into Europe, you get fun out. Any wee mistake gets punished, bang, back of the net. And if they haven't proved that, I said it right at the start, I'd love Celtic to go 1-up and see that they're good enough to see out a game in Europe, and that hasn't been the case because the stats that Hugh's just produced there aren't there. So it has to be the case that they score more than the other team, because that's the way it is. But I think in all the games that we've saw now with Rangers and Celtic, because the 2 of them have been out of European Champions League football for so long, they're nowhere near that level. They're nowhere near that level. And 2 of the teams in the group, they've always got a chance of beating Shakhtar and Ajax, but the other 2 teams are way ahead financially. We keep talking about it, and people use it as an excuse, but the excuse is there. They're away, but if they've not been in the Champions League for so long, they fell further behind than the other teams that have got the money. Well,
let's argue the point then. Obviously, from a Celtic perspective, from a Rangers, and certainly from a Hearts, I think that is absolutely the case, because they just look so far off it at times. It's incredible against Istanbul and against Fiorentina, and especially on Thursday. I fear for them. With regards to Celtic, they can't spend the same amount of money, Hugh. But Ange Postecoglou is not buying into that. He wants to play a game. He wants to try and get the mindset changed. Now, I'm not going to batter him for his plan A, and then if plan A doesn't work, it's plan A harder. He's going about his business, and in flashes, Celtic play some good football.
Absolutely.
But they just get undone.
But that's the top level. I mean, I was at the Real Madrid game, Peter, as were you, and for 60 minutes, Celtic were terrific, absolutely terrific. I mean, if you had come to that game completely neutral without any knowledge of both teams, you would say, oh, this is 50-50, but it's the extra half an hour. It's when those teams can go up a level. It's when those mistakes, slight mistakes are made. You know,
I think it's a combination of both, though. You say go up a level, I think Celtic drop off as well.
Well, I think in fatigue, I think they absolutely do, Peter. I think in the last half hour, if you to compete against, it happens in Scotland. I mean, there's no mystery about why Celtic and Rangers score late in Scotland. It's because teams fatigue. You can't keep going for 90 minutes. I thought the David Martindale point about the 5 substitutes, why he wanted 5 substitutes, was to keep fitness levels at the highest against Celtic and Rangers. But I think at the top level, we talk about Werner, for example. Here's an interesting point about Werner. I think he's a terrific player, by the way, Peter.
Yes.
He's had a really bad, and I think he's not back to what he was, and he had a really bad period at Chelsea. Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, he did win a Champions League, but he had a bad period there. But see, Werner at his end of time with Chelsea, could Celtic have signed him? Uproar of laughter, right? Chris Sutton had a really bad season at Chelsea, and Celtic signed him. So as in a matter of 20 years, that's the way the game's changed. Celtic can't sign somebody, a big name centre forward who's had a bad season at a Premier League club, because that's the way the game's moved on. The game's moved on to such a level now that even the idea of Celtic buying anybody for a Premier League club, or Rangers buying anybody for a Premier League club, is risible. And that's the way the game's moved on. I think I don't know how it changes. I think it has to change by a rearrangement of leagues. I think it has to change by a rearrangement of broadcast money. But I think the inevitability of it is a European Super League, Peter, and we've talked about it before. Yeah,
but with regards to this match, I have a sneaky feeling, I may be wrong, there's times when I've been incredibly negative about the way his teams have played, but at home, I've got a feeling about tonight, Ruffy. It might be totally one of your what I call gut feelings based on nothing, but I have to say, I'm looking at his team. He's got a few worries, injury worries. If he had McGregor in there, I would feel more confident about this. But there's something about it. I'm thinking to myself, they've got a point to prove. They have played good football. By the way, the Celtic fans are not on our feed, or when the ones I speak to are not giving it, we're not happy with this plan A. They like entertaining football. Maybe we should all just actually get to the point and say, well, what pleases us? Mm-hmm. Is it just what Gordon Strachan said to me before? Mm-hmm. How do you become a successful Rangers and Celtic manager? Win, 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 and then win again. Never mind all this, we want to play the absolute beautiful way Tommy Burns' side played, or Brendan Rodgers in his first season. Just keep winning. And winning the crucial big games, because if you don't do that, you're getting pelters, and then you're getting the sack.
Yeah, I mean, Celtic will want to go into that game, and they'll want to try and be in second place. They'll want to stay in Europe for a wee while longer, and it's okay. The fans love the style of football, but at some stage, if you finish that group in 1 point, there are some people who are going to be unhappy. They might be getting entertained, but they're still getting beat if they've only got 1 point, and you don't know how hard they're getting beat. So I'm like you as well. I think they'll get something at the game of the night. I don't think Leipzig defensively are top notch, but they have got other players in other divisions. Part of the part that will hurt you, and that's why I keep saying defensively Celtic need to be a lot better. I mean, when it was one each, and Joe Hart made the mistake. Do you believe that Celtic could have seen that game out at one each? Well, the way they played.
Well, to be fair, I thought Leipzig fully deserved their win, Ruffy, and they were denied 2 goals. One of them I thought was rather fortuitous for Celtic. But you're trying to highlight one incident. If Joe Hart uses what I'm saying is, if Joe Hart uses all the experience and launches that ball and just takes the flack from Postecoglou, suddenly Celtic might have been able to actually bed in and think, right, we've just had a goal chalked off from Leipzig, we're lucky, we're still lucky to be in this game, it's still 1-1.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. But he gives them the ball.
That's the point I'm making. They don't seem to have that in the mentality of, as you've already touched on, quite rightly so, they just want to go and get an If it's one each, let's go and get another game.
No, but the problem here is Ange Postecoglou mentions it here, and let's have a listen to him on it. He's talking about, you can marry both together, a good performance and a win.
I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I don't know why people think you need one or the other. I think if we put in a good performance, there's a good chance we'll get a good result. So, I think, from my perspective, the reason we go about our things the way we do is because we think it'll give us the best chance of success. So, I think for us, again, the focus is, playing our football, putting in a strong performance against a good quality opponent, and they'll give us the best chance to get the result we want.
Well, if anything, Hugh, he hasn't been able to marry them together. But the Celtic fans like what they see. They love the endeavour. They love the creativity. They certainly like some of the passing moves. And of course, they've had those moments when they've been able to celebrate goals or have great chances against Real Madrid. But the Shakhtar performance filled them full of confidence. Leipzig, they're looking at it and cutting Celtic some slack because it was a blunder by Joe Hart. But tonight, is it all about good performance, or is it just about, take those chances that they keep creating?
Yeah, they've got to do that, but there's no surprise about that either. I mean, it's like people always think there's a mystery about players not taking chances. I was down at the Etihad for Dortmund versus Man City. Haaland didn't have a chance and scored the goal, because the chance that he scored the goal wasn't really a chance. So there's no kind of mystery about not taking chances. Quality players take chances all the time. Players with less quality are prone to miss chances. It's a fact of life. The biggest change in my lifetime, Peter, and Alan will agree with me because he's of the same vintage. There was a period when certainly Celtic and Rangers, but other teams as well in Scotland, went into the European competitions expecting to win them.
Yeah.
Not saying they were going to win them, but the reason they were in them was to win it. That was the reason they were in it. And that applied to Dundee United in the 80s and Aberdeen in the 80s as well. They went in with a good chance. But now we're talking about realistically, let's get out of the group as third base team. And I think the fans have bought into this. One of the slightest things that amazed me at the Celtic Real Madrid game when I was there was the reaction of the fans after the game. They've been pumped, Celtic. They were great for an hour, but in the last half hour it was a Real Madrid masterclass and won very, very comfortably. The reaction to that wasn't boos, it wasn't even flat, it was, the place was reverberating. Not because these people are easily pleased and all that, but I think people now have got a realisation of what it's going to take to face teams like Real Madrid and know it's beyond Celtic.
Yeah, but well, it's beyond them. But I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, Hugh, and offer an opinion that a lot of Celtic fans are looking at with the likes of a Shakhtar Donetsk and an RB Leipzig, who, by the way, have got far in excess spending power than Celtic, even in the Bundesliga. But they want to see a manager who's promised them, listen, this is the way we are going to play. These are the players who are there. Hopefully they can execute it, but sometimes they won't come up to the mark.
Yeah,
and he's pushing them to the limits where they're going to do the high press. They're going to try and create something. They're going to try and give you that moment of a Jota goal in Germany. Now tonight, with the crowd, he's hoping that the crowd and the atmosphere and everything can negate that 30 minutes of Real Madridism.
I think there's hope for optimism there, because RB Leipzig don't travel well. I think they've been to Glasgow twice and without a win. In the Bundesliga, they're known as not great travellers either. So there's grounds for optimism. And if Celtic play to their absolute peak, there's hope for something, because if you see, if Giakoumakis gets a chance, will he take it as he did at McDermott Park, or will he take it the way he did in Warsaw against Shakhtar, where he slices it, or not slices, he curves it past the post. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it comes down to, will the players play at the optimum? The fact of the matter, apart from a couple of chances against Real Madrid, one pretty unlucky, a deflection pass, but one when Abada is through one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Top player score that. You know, Benzema's through one-on-one with a goalkeeper. You're saying 90% chance he's going to score. Yeah. That's the level. But if Celtic players play to their top level, they've got more than a chance tonight. Don't get me wrong, but there's no room for error, and there's probably no room for fatigue either in the last half hour.
Yeah. Okay. Matt O'Reilly certainly has been one of the positives for Celtic this season, and he reckons if they can just now, back it up, performance and the result to be proud of at the end of it.
Yeah, no, I think he's right. It's a results business at the end of the day. I think we've proven that we're capable of playing at this level in terms of the performance, but now it's just about getting the result, like you said. And I think we've got all the attributes to do that, to be honest. It's just about actually doing it now, like Greg's probably said. Performances are there. Everyone's still feeling positive and feeling good, which is the main thing. If we were in the training ground doubting ourselves and thinking, we need to change something, then it's probably a different story, but the approach is still the same, and I think we're confident we can do it.
Okay, he's confident. I've predicted Celtic to lose the last two games in the Champions League. I'm going to put my neck out. Celtic 2-1.
Yeah, I can see that happening as well. But
no, please don't. Please, we've got half an hour roughly, and we've got to get on to Rangers, and we've got Dundee United, and we've got Scotland women. You're going to waste 90 seconds in probability. Don't explain probability.
No, I'm going one each. I'm going one each because I don't think Celtic will go through this game without losing a goal.
Right, there you are.
I think, Celtic will lose a goal, but I think they'll get a draw out of the game.
Okay, there you are. It's all about opinions. So give us your thoughts on it as well. And of course, the great thing about the joy of football is if you get it right, you get on tomorrow and you go, I told you so. As everybody... No, but it does happen every now and then. Somebody will come on and say that. So give us your thoughts on it as well. Kevin McManus says playing at Parkhead the next two games levels it up a bit and gives Celtic a better chance, and he's going to take 2-1 as well. Who knows? Is there a performance tonight to be proud of? We will find out. So on from Celtic to Rangers. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has been speaking at this moment ahead of that match tomorrow. Rangers against Liverpool. It's an absolute belter. We all know Liverpool really well. We played against a strong side last week. We have to find more moments in the game to be dangerous, and approach will be different tomorrow, as we definitely need the points. Well, listen, there's no doubt about that. We were in the game against Napoli until the red card. That game gives us confidence going into our home game tomorrow, and he said we need to attack but also need to defend really well against a good side. I expect a very hectic game. The Ibrox crowd will definitely push us on towards another good performance. Well, we certainly hope so, but again, Ruffy, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you on this one, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst said he wants to start the game well and put pressure on Liverpool from the first whistle. He'll need to do everything this week that they couldn't do last week.
Well, they need to be more aggressive. They need to be on the front foot. They need to go and put a team that is not winning the games the way they usually do, but this could be the right time to have a go at them, but in having a go at them, you have to be aware that they have got quality players in other positions, that you have to be very, very good defensively if they're going to hit you on the break. So, yeah, you would expect that. I mean, as soon as you walk out into that park at Ibrox with the fans and everything behind, you would expect the team to have a go and no sit back, but he's got to pick the players that are going into the last third of the park and cause trouble. And he's certainly got them, but we'll have to wait and see what his team is.
Yeah, listen, he's hanging on to Gio, and I think he's got to do this to try and just basically get every ounce of positivity and energy out of his side, and talk about that 60 minutes against Napoli. Prior to the red card for Sands, I thought Napoli were just knocking on the door. I thought it was not a case of if, it was when are they going to score, because they had the dominant part of the game. That said, Rangers at home sometimes, in the last season, we look at the evidence, the crowd, the whole lift of it. they've got to try and create chances. It was 86 minutes last week, Hugh, before Rangers had their first shot on target.
Absolutely.
And even then they couldn't get out of their own half at times. So this time around, I think the press has to happen, the bravery on the ball, because the amount of times last week the Rangers players who couldn't say, there's the pass forward, I'll play it, I'll help him out, or I'll give him another option. That wasn't there.
Yep. I mean, there's so many points to this game, Peter. You know, people will say, you know, yeah, against Napoli until the red card, but the red card was part of pressure. You know, the red card came about, it just didn't come fluttering down from the sky. It came about because Napoli were exerting pressure. And the fact of the thing, you know, having a go is a tremendous little phrase, but if it all depends what you put into practice. And to have a go, normally you've got to put guys ahead of the ball. And when you're passing the ball forward, you've got to be prepared when you're passing the ball forward to be on the front foot, to go beyond again. If you're doing that against Liverpool, you know, with people on the front foot going forward, and Liverpool hit you on the going the other way, it's carnage. But on both sides, there's questions. I mean, I think Liverpool are done at the moment. I think a period of Liverpool has finished. An era has finished, and an era has yet to start. They're in a bit of limbo at the moment. They won't win the league. They're still good enough and they're strong enough to compete at a very high level in Europe and in domestic cups. But there'll be a period now of them sitting down and saying, what's the next step? So they are in a period of limbo. But I think there's questions for Gio as well, because he's got his questions. What does he do in midfield and what does he do up front? Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I mean, if you talk about Liverpool, I actually think, Ruffy, it's called the post-Mane era, because they haven't been able to replace him. Núñez, he scored a goal at the weekend against Arsenal, but I still think he's to find his feet. I thought he was going to be a great signing. I loved watching him at Benfica, and he certainly posted his intent in the game against Liverpool, but as Hugh mentioned there, the signings they've made have been to try and bring down the average age of the side. It's up at 27 and a half, possibly higher. Now they're trying to bring it down to 26, 25, but I don't see rippling with the quality that you're thinking they're going to be able to do anything in this Champions League, but they're way, way better than Rangers.
Of course, and the players you've just mentioned there are way, way ahead of any players that Rangers have got, you know, and that's what they're up against. I mean, Liverpool might be struggling down in the Premiership, but they're competing against teams who've got players that are 80, 90 million, 100 million. You know, they're not competing with Rangers. You know, they're coming down a couple of divisions. So these players that we're talking about who aren't performing down in England should be performing tonight because they're better players.
I'm looking at the whole game. I'm looking at the table. This is how it looks for Rangers. Getting points is the priority, as Giovanni Van Bronckhorst highlighted there. I have said on previous weeks, I don't know where Rangers are going to get a point. At best, maybe a home game against Ajax, but that could be the battle for third if Ajax don't take any further points. And if that's the case, they then need to beat them by 4. It's not going to happen.
It's points or bust tonight. Not tonight, sorry, tomorrow night. It's points or bust for Rangers. I can't see it because I just think, yes, there's so many doubts so many questions about the Liverpool team at the moment in the Premier League and at the highest level in Europe. But those questions will be answered in the summer. We know that there's players playing who will play tomorrow night and certainly will play this season for Liverpool. This is going to be their last season. There's going to be a clear up.
You can say that for Rangers. I think there's a good 6 and I'm being kind saying 6 or 7. Who'll be out the door.
So Liverpool in a state of limbo. I think already they'll be looking at. I think Klopp will be looking already at the Champions League as a way to get, because they're certainly a good team. They're just not going to be consistently good enough to challenge Man City.
I'm glad you said that, Hugh, because I cannot for the first time ever see anybody stopping them if Haaland's fit.
If Haaland's fit, I don't think anybody stop. I've been talking about Haaland in this show for 2 years, you know. But I mean, it wasn't even to my credit, Pierce, because see, if you went and saw, I mean, I laughed during the summer when people were talking about doubts about if you'd ever gone to see Haaland, you know, you'd say this kid's got everything. He's not going to be a Messi, he's not going to be a Ronaldo, he's going to be better than Messi and Ronaldo in statistics and scoring goals, I think.
You think so?
I think he already is.
But you think he's going to score 43 a season till he's 38?
Well,
till he's 38 to equal it?
Maybe not in that sense, but I mean, he's going to compile a goal scoring record, that, a total in a shorter time. You've already seen he's quicker to so many milestones than Messi and Ronaldo have been. He's going to compile it in a shorter time. I can't see him at 38 being a big centre forward, because he's not going to play in midfield or anything like that. But he is that good. He's that good. He's going to score bundles. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as obviously the group, we know exactly what's entailed for Rangers in this one, but what about the team selection, Ruffy? Last week I was arguing for Morelos to start because I thought he might get them up the park. He didn't. Cholak, this boy, I think deserves all the credit that's coming his way. You'd look at it, you say, they can't afford not to start with him. McGregor, Tavernier, Golson, Davies and Barisic, Lundstrom, Jack, Fashion, Sakala, Arfield, Kent, Cholak. I mean, Sakala's certainly pushed himself to the forefront of the manager's mind as well, but Cholak's got to start surely, because you can't keep denying him. Even I have to hold my hands up and say, he's scoring goals, and the goal he scored at the weekend was a belter. He's outside of his boot.
No, he's got to be on it. He's a goal scorer, and the confidence is high. If we talk to any strikers, when you're scoring goals every game, you expect to score every game, and that's the kind of person that they need. You're right with Sakala. I thought he gave a lot of energy at the weekend there. But it depends. The formation for me is how they set up. Tam talked about it the other night. Are they gallus enough to go free at the back? Because every time that the Scottish teams play,
Tam wanted Morelos and Cholak to start. I mean, listen, we might come out tomorrow and go, well, fair play to Tam if it happens. I can't see it. I just think they're going to have to replicate something and hope Cholak produces the difference, which is a bit. They had no service last week for Morelos, to be fair to the boy. They didn't get up the park.
There is a reason why Rangers and Celtic, when they go into Champions League football, why they play two sitting midfielders, because the two sitting midfielders is to stop the teams scoring goals, to protect your back four, and that's how defensive they are, because they know they're up against a real quality of players.
But Liverpool can have 7 men in midfield at one point.
Yeah,
you can have your 2 fullbacks, your 2 wide men, and your 3 midfielders. You literally could have that in midfield.
You'll never believe this, Hugh. This is the God's honest truth, and it's very unusual for me. But on this programme, usually we have all the stuff coming in, the details of managers who are speaking, players who are speaking, the whole lot. And the only thing that is started this year, and it's never started before, is our producer and director in our ear saying, is there any chance you can push Ruffy back up as he slides towards you? He's like John Gielgud.
He's going early.
John Gielgud reading poetry. Eventually, once he gets into the third verse,
going early.
It was like spitting at me when they had John Gielgud reading poetry, and then the big shepherd's hook come out to push him, to wake him up.
The last time I saw him do that, was down at Capello, but he went the other way.
The slope.
And he went the other way, and Andy Ritchie just curled it in.
Absolutely. I've seen it a few times, but every now and then on the programme, and that we could start a programme. we could start a programme. Shoot the Ruffy, where you actually get to see if you can catch him. Bernie the Bolt. There's a great one from days gone by. Give us your thoughts on it. I think Liverpool will win 3-1.
I think Liverpool will win as well. 2-0.
Well, I'm going for the Rangers 1 each.
1 each?
Yep.
What do you mean a Rangers 1 each? It's a draw.
They're at home.
Yeah, okay. So you see them getting a point, which could sway it in their favour, Ruffy, if results go elsewhere, to their favour. It could mean that they just need to defeat Ajax for third.
Just.
But I was trying to be positive. You've just absolutely custard-pied me on it. Okay, so Hearts, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, still he's not going to risk Halkett. I can see Hearts getting an absolute doing over in Fiorentina.
Well, I've already said I think Rangers and Celtic are at their depth in the Champions League. Hearts are out of their depth in the Europa. They haven't been there before, they've never experienced it, and it's a lesson that they'll obviously benefit from playing in it. And you would like to think they would get better as the games go on, but they're just out of their depth, basically.
Yeah. Florence is a lovely area. We should have actually gone there, Hugh. That would have been... Can you imagine actually just putting the rough guide to Florence and chatting about the teams?
One of the most rewarding experiences of my journalistic life was when they demanded, Peter, that I go and preview Fiorentina v Rangers in 2008, and sent me out on the Saturday before the game that was, I believe, was on a Thursday, and said to me, and don't come back to next Saturday either, because we want the follow-ups. So a terrible trial and ordeal for me to be a week in Florence. Yeah, great city, but it's going to be, I think, a city of real heartbreak, because Hearts have found this really tough, and the reason I've found it really tough is the quality argument. You know, they're playing at a level above, but it also reveals flaws and fallibilities in your squad, because you can't regenerate it for domestic matches the way Celtic and Rangers can. So Hearts' fall has been quite precipitous in Scottish terms. It's been a real testing time for Hearts. I think Robbie Neilson may be pretty glad when this is done and dusted and over, because everybody's got their own titles and championships to go for, and Hearts fans will not be happy with anything less than third, and I think they're correct to be that, given the money it's been spent. And they'll also want a good dig at one of the two domestic cups, and Hearts at the moment are falling pretty well short of that. Yeah, well, to be fair, I think as Tam McManus mentioned, maybe it's too tough doing Thursday into Sunday as well. Stephen McNeil thinks it's going to be Fiorentina 8, Hearts 0. Stephen clearly doesn't like the Jambos.
The high B.
Yeah, well, I was going to say he doesn't like the Jambos. Although, listen, Ruffy, I think Fiorentina are going to win 4-0.
No, I think Craig Gordon will have another good night. I would
what, 3-0?
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
I think Fiorentina comfortably.
Yeah, okay. A couple of things we want to talk about before we go. Listen, if you get a chance, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you join the football family, and also if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get all the latest breaking football news. It's absolutely free to watch the football show Monday to Friday, and there's so much more 24/7 on PLZ Soccer. And thank you to so many of you for your comments as well. Alistair Houston says Hearts under Nielsen are out of their depth against Fiorentina. The last game, the tactics were the worst I'd seen from Hearts for ages. Okay, I want the Jambos to win, Peter, says Stephen McNeil. So well done, but clearly he doesn't feel. I think Stephen 8-0 8-0 tells me otherwise, but Nielsen must stay, says Jason Ladd. There you are, that's the indication of where some people's loyalties lie. But big one, I don't think have we predicted at best a draw for most Scottish clubs? I think I'm the only one to predict a win for Scottish clubs, Celtic to win 2-1.
Yeah, the best is a draw for me.
Yeah, okay. Now, a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on. Big night for Scotland's women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to beat Republic of Ireland, and then of course from there Portugal play Iceland, Wales are up against Switzerland. If either one of them wins, we're in there.
It's a kind of unclear situation. A simple equation for Scotland anyway tonight is you just got to win for a variety of reasons. You've got to win. I think they will win. I think the new manager has set a new culture on and off the park that I'm certainly pleased with. I think Scotland have got genuine quality in their side.
Yes.
I mean, we can look at a Scotland team that has a Real Madrid player in it, has English Premier League players in it.
Chelsea.
I think and they're on a good period at the moment. Ukraine 4-0.
And his favourite, and they've got a manager who's giving them a different insight from the previous gaffer.
Yeah, I think the manager's been crucial. I think he's changed everything. I think they're looking to look a good unit, a good professional unit. I think they've improved the way teams growing do improve with the right direction. I expect them to win the night, Peter, and I'm just hopeful that results elsewhere means it's a fruitful one for him.
Yeah, of course, he's a Real Madrid fan. I had a chat with him in the summer. His favourite player?
Zizou.
Yeah, good shout, Hugh. Zidane is his
Funnily
favourite.
enough, I interviewed Caroline Weir, and of course, when Caroline Weir was growing up, there wasn't the level of women. One of the great things about women's football now is like young girls have women's footballers as their heroes or heroines. And Caroline Weir's hero was Zinedine Zidane, so she'll have plenty to talk to the gaffer about.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, are you going for a win?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Fingers crossed they're able to do that. Dundee United against Hibs. No point in thumping Aberdeen 4-0, Ruffy. And then coming up, Cropper against Hibernian.
No, you've got to keep your home fans on board, and they certainly haven't been on board this year. They've been leaving before the 90 minutes in most of the games, but obviously that result at the weekend would bring them back again. And it'll be interesting to see if they can dig out another one. I don't think they'll get it as easy as what they got against Aberdeen. Some of the goals they lost were shocking. So, and again, it'll be interesting. We spoke about Hibs, they're on that wee run they're on the now, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if Dundee United keep 11 on the park, if they win the game as easy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a nice night for Paul Hanlon, 32. 15 years ago, it's hard to believe, seems like an ever present. 15 years ago, Mixu Patelainen gave him his start, his debut for Hibs, and it's his 507th outing. So he goes into the top 5 players who've had over 500 appearances.
You're going to ask us, are you?
What?
You're going to ask us who the top?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So fire away. On you go. There are
Of Hibs players?
There are 4 other. He's now in. He's overtaken Willie Ormond.
Hibs
5 players for Hibs that have exceeded the total of Willie Ormond. Pat Stanton is one. One of them is a player that I would love to have seen play, but I'm too young.
I'm too young to see Gordon Smith.
Yes.
Let me think of other Hibs players. Would Lewis Stevenson come in here?
Yes, Lewis Stevenson. You only got one more, and he was a brilliant era, just before your era. But you played with him probably. And you maybe have played with him. He's probably just...
Alec Edwards?
No, but in that kind of team.
Tree rookie?
No.
Really
good player.
John Blackley or Brownlee?
It's in that team.
Brownlee?
No, it's not. No, it's not him.
Goodness gracious.
And if I say winger, played for Scotland.
Crawley?
No.
Duncan?
Yep.
Arthur Duncan?
Arthur Duncan.
He's a jag as well.
Jag, aye.
Yeah, so teammate of Hanlon's, Lewis Stevenson's 550, Pat Stanton 617, Arthur Duncan 626 appearances,
And Arthur's still going strong.
and Gordon Smith 636.
Gordon Smith's incredible. I mean, Gordon Smith went on and won after being in the famous 5, went on and won a league title with Dundee.
Yeah.
That's how good Gordon Smith was.
Oh, exactly. I'd love to have seen him play, I must admit.
For that time
Only
as well.
certain players go over 600.
Yeah,
Is it right?
absolutely. Well, that's another programme, thankfully. So, just give me your thoughts on this one. I am picking Hibs to go there and win 2-1.
That's mad. That's mad. The precise result as well. In America, I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked to the Dundee United. I think it's been a really funny season in Scotland. There's been some results where, 4-0 against Aberdeen, but I still think Hibs will win narrowly.
2-1 as well.
2-1 as well, okay. Listen, if I might as well mention this. Favourite for the sack, Steven Gerrard. He's up there now. He's now second behind Ralph Hasenhüttl. Wish I hadn't tried to read that so quickly. Ralph Hasenhüttl is still 5-4, but you get the best price now, 11-4 Steven Gerrard after the 1-1 draw, and the fans are starting to chant his name. And Villa, no patience.
No, there's no patience because they know how much money they're going to lose if they drop out of that league.
That is
the big decision that the board or the owners will make, because it's now becoming very apparent the teams that are coming up for the Championship with a wad of money are now beginning to spend it a wee bit more wisely to try and stay in there.
Yeah.
So it's harder for the teams down the bottom.
I don't see him making it.
No, I think he's got a really tough task in front of me. The thing about Villa is I was down at Villa last season, as you know, Peter. I went down watching them against Crystal Palace, and before the game, packed stadium, beautiful old stadium. I know it's going to be refurbished. They brought out the European Cup team, won the European Cup, and he said, so, and you look outside the stadium in the old brick, you go, this is a football club. This is a football club. And it's struggled for quite some time, you know, to you know, I think a top six they're not looking for a Leicester win the league, but they're looking for a Leicester, you know, let's try and get into the Champions League. And what's happening now is there's real discontent there, and it didn't look a well-balanced team when I saw them, Peter, you know, and it still doesn't. No. So, yeah, problems for them, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Listen, we're almost at the end of the programme. Good luck to all our Scottish clubs. We'll be back tomorrow. Myself, Ruffy, Tammy McManus, talking football. Great to have Hugh back with us from your trip in America. Hugh, going on a holiday on your own, Ruffy, that's something I'm not used to myself. I mean, I must admit, nothing but admiration. Have you ever gone on a holiday on your own?
No, I was lonely once. I took my dog with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just down south.
but I've never gone on holiday on my own. I did go to see. I rolled back the years last night, Hugh, to see Roxy Music at the Hydro.
Did you?
And it was absolutely magnificent.
I went and saw Roxy Music in 1972, Peter. There you go. 1972. They just brought out Virginia playing.
And by the way, when he sang it last night, it was my favourite song of all time from Roxy Music.
Did he say anything about the crowd last night? Because he loves a Glasgow crowd.
He loves Glasgow. But I think everybody's like that, you know. Ruffy and I, when we go to Beath Juniors, we go, it's great to be here, you know. We always give it that line, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it is good to be at Beath Juniors. It's great to be at Beath Juniors. Smashing part, the old slope.
I actually played in that park.
Did you?
And I won something. I kicked it, ball out my hands, one bounce right out the park.
Wow, there you are. I wish I hadn't brought it up. Anyway, from that moment, thank you very much to Hugh, thanks to Ruffy, and to you. Join us tomorrow, but hit that subscribe button if you can, and join the football family on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you.